Now, former Prime Minister Tony Blair takes questions at this session of the British-Iraq War Inquiry. The five-member committee is examining British involvement in the war and the circumstances which led to the 2003 invasion. Relatives of some of the 179 soldiers killed in the conflict were among the audience watching the proceedings. This portion is about 2 hours, 45 minutes.
We'll be hearing from the Right Honourable Tony Blair, Prime Minister until June 2007. We have much to cover today, and the committee hopes we can go about our business in an orderly way and, in fairness to all, not be distracted by disruptions. As in all our hearings, the right of our witness to respond must be respected, and those here today were selected through a free public ballot overseen by an independent arbiter. We remind them of the behaviour they're expected to observe. Mr. Blair will be giving evidence in two sessions, this morning and this afternoon, with a lunch break of about 1.5 hours. And this will help to ensure that all those who will be coming for the afternoon session are able to take their places before we start proceedings. I would like to start by welcoming our witness and the others who join us at the Queen Elizabeth II Conference Centre here today, as well as all those who are watching this session, either on television or through the internet. Today's hearing is understandably much anticipated, and in the circumstances, the committee thinks it important to set out what this hearing will and will not cover. The UK's involvement in Iraq remains a divisive subject. It is one that provokes strong emotions, especially for those who have lost loved ones in Iraq, and some of them are here today. They and others are looking for answers as to why the UK committed to military action in Iraq and whether we did so on the best possible footing. Our questions aim to get to the heart of those issues. Now, the purpose of the Iraq inquiry is to establish a reliable account of the UK's involvement in Iraq between 2001 and 2009, and to identify lessons for future governments facing similar circumstances. That is our remit. The inquiry is not a trial. The committee before you is independent and non-political. We come to our work with no preconceptions, and we are committed to doing a thorough job based on the evidence. We aim to deliver our report around the end of this year. Now, this is the first time Mr. Blair is appearing before us, and we are currently holding our first round of public hearings. We shall be holding further hearings later in the year when we can return to subjects we wish to explore further. If necessary, we could speak to Mr. Blair again. Today's session covers 6 years of events that were complex and controversial. It would be impossible to do them all justice in the time we have available today. The committee has therefore made a decision to centre its questioning on a number of specific areas. If necessary, we shall come back to other issues at a later date. We plan to focus our questions first on the evolution of strategy towards Iraq up to 2002, including key meetings such as those with President Bush in April and September 2002, as well as the complex diplomatic processes at the United Nations. We will then look at how the policy was presented to Parliament and the British people. That will be followed by the later stages of diplomacy in early 2003. We will then move on to the planning for the invasion of Iraq in March and April 2003, its aftermath, and the reality that confronted the coalition on the ground in Iraq. We plan to conclude with the deterioration of the security situation in Iraq, the high levels of sectarian violence in 2006 and 2007, and how the United Kingdom responded to this, followed lastly by how the British government provided strategic direction. Now, I say, as I do on every occasion, we recognise that witnesses are giving evidence based in part on their recollection of events, and we can cross-check what we hear against the papers to which we have access. And I remind every witness that he will later be asked to sign a transcript of the evidence to the effect that the evidence given is truthful, fair, and accurate. I would like to begin the proceedings just by observing that the broad question by many people who have spoken and written to us so far is, why really did we invade Iraq, why Saddam, and why now in March 2003? There have been many public speeches, statements, interviews, and parliamentary committee hearings about Iraq. But in fairness to everyone concerned and to our witness, we shall want throughout today to pursue this broad question which lies behind many of the very specific issues we shall be examining in the course of today's hearings. And I shall now turn to Sir Roderick Lyon to open the questions. Roderick.